All right, looks like it's time to start. My name is Jason Lenny. Welcome to the group conversation for CI/CD. Um, looks like folks are starting to ask to add some questions, but I wanted to kick things off by touching on the topic slides and just briefly talking about those. I'll share my screen here. And then if we jump into the topics, then one of the big things that we're doing right now is planning for FY21 and how we want to grow the team. Some of the things that we're thinking about for CI/CD, well, all of it's really oriented around the CI/CD strategy that we just recently published, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at. We are going to be doing a kind of an internal session focused on the design, engineering, and other stable counterpart teams that work with CI/CD. So if you're interested in attending that, let me know, and I can probably add you to that invite. But it's all centered around that. But some of the themes that we're looking at are focusing on onboarding and potentially building out a team that can look at onboarding and getting up to speed with GitLab across verify, package, and release. So thinking about the whole CI/CD experience. Of course, we want to grow the runner team. We recently split that out from CI/CD, and we want to grow it up into a full-size team. We also are looking at how we can support the mobile use case better, and potentially building out a team group that can focus on that use case again, maybe crossing some of the lines between the individual teams, and maybe for the mobile use case, even supporting things like syntax highlighting associated with mobile languages in the web IDE and things like that. Availability and features for the container registry is also a focus. And then with all the splitting that we've done, we have a bunch of teams now that are sort of partial sized. And so we want to grow all of those teams back up to full. These are just the ideas that we're discussing right now, and we still have time to figure out what exactly we're going to do. Your feedback is welcome, so let us know if you have any thoughts. Windows and Mac runner work is also progressing. You can see the links to the epics here and the issue where we're discussing pricing and how the beta rollout will happen. At the moment, all of that is planned towards finishing everything for 12.5. So again, super, super exciting. Also recently, we had the cloud native CI wave where we performed really, really well. In terms of the strategy and vision and product roadmap, we scored a perfect 5 out of 5. And then you can see we're up here on the top right, doing well with the individual cloud providers like Google, Microsoft, and AWS in their solutions. We're really interesting placed here because we're the only really independent operator that's in that space. So exciting. We have a link to our full take on the report and where you can send a link for customers to download the report here. So check that out if you're interested in that topic. We're also aware of availability issues and customer sentiment issues that are happening with the container registry. And so we've shared some details on the plan that we have here to address that. It's another area where it would be great if you're having issues, if you're having trouble managing it on the infrastructure team, if you're hearing from customers, let us know. And we're rallying around how we can make the container registry experience better. Another thing that we're doing that's going to be starting very, very soon is what we're calling speed runs. And I think this is being rolled out even more generally than just CI/CD. But this is where we're going to find some basic use cases that are either things that you're doing all the time in the product or things that that are really important to new users who are onboarding. And just record how long it takes to do it, how difficult it is, where you slow down, where you wait. Things like setting up a pages site is a great example of this, where there's different waits and things that happen, and sometimes things are unclear. And we're just going to record those, measure the time, and measure how that's changing over time, and drive down some key user flows in the product in this way. If you have suggestions here for areas that we should be measuring in this way, do let us know. Then last up, my favorite slide is where we ask for your contribution on different things. So we're starting the product development flow process on the CI/CD teams as well. So we may look for your help in connecting with customers. If you're in the support or sales organizations and things like that, we do really need your support in order to get in touch with good customers for these issues. So please do help us if we reach out. The accessibility MVC is moving into problem validation as well. So we're looking for feedback on that. The container registry retention and expiration policy issue also needs feedback. We're trying to determine what the best process is and policies for automatically removing unused images. Obviously, you can imagine that's a pretty complicated topic, and different points of view really, really help us. We're also trying to figure out how we can integrate the current stage-based view and the DAG view of pipelines in an interesting way that doesn't result in kind of like two different views in the product. And so this is one of the ones that we're doing the product development flow on, but viewpoints here are very, very welcome. I also made this Jenkins migration doc a couple months back, I think, and it would be really, really great to get more feedback from folks who are working in the field and implementing this to refine that document and turn it into something really, really valuable. I think I saw that the managed team or whichever team is working on the importer is going to be potentially using that to base the things that they're building off of. So more insights into that document, any feedback, real world experience is just going to make everything better for helping our users who are trying to get over from Jenkins onto our product. And then access controls for pages is enabled on gitlab.com, which was a great community contribution, and would also love to hear feedback on that. So with that, I will stop sharing and turn it over to questions. Let's see if any have been shared. All right, Dan, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I'm wondering what our expectations are for the rollout of the dependency proxy as we're getting Puma all sorted out on gitlab.com.
Yeah, so we have an issue where some of our customers, well, basically everybody who uses gitlab.com is paying a little bit of a tax where we're going out to GitHub, or sorry, Docker Hub, and fetching containers every single time. We were waiting on Puma to be rolled out, but we have an issue where we're trying to follow that out via Stage, Canary, and eventually in production in order to test this feature and bring the capability out at gitlab.com scale. I think it'll be a really great test of the feature and proof that it can solve real world problems, and also solve a real problem for users of gitlab.com today. So very, very excited about that, and excited to be dogfooding it in that way. Anything to add to that, Tim? You're welcome to jump in if you do.
Yeah, I would say we're dogfooding it. We still will have to follow up and do things like add authentication for private projects. There may be some performance concerns, but we're hoping that by solving the dogfooding problems first for our infrastructure team, that we'll be able to drive more requirements from that issue and prioritize them appropriately.
Great. Dan, our next question is yours also.
Just wondering if we've sort of started fleshing out plans for the dependency firewall and where we sort of think about that going and time scale for that would be helpful, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, so that one is more in the works, as I understand. We don't have a super finalized strategy on how that's being rolled out, although Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. This is an important one, though. It's important for compliance workflows. And one interesting thing that we're doing is looking at, starting to look at compliance at a more cross GitLab level. And so potentially this is going to roll into that to a certain extent. So yeah, it's an interesting area of growth, but we don't quite have a detailed rollout plan for that one yet.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, yeah, we're potentially forking the Docker registry. I think I asked already whether we can switch to hardware, and Dan already answered that hardware is also the Docker registry under the hood, so that doesn't make sense. And I think the reason for switching is that there's kind of PRs on the Docker fork that aren't getting merged. Forking an open source project is a big statement, and we want to still benefit from like the power of open source, other people contributing. So are we in touch with Docker? Like, are we saying, hey, look, there's all these things languishing that are not getting merged. We need those things to get merged. We're considering a fork, but we would prefer if you take get back on maintaining this project. However, we totally understand if you don't have the intention or the resources to do so. But are we like opening that conversation? And a second, if we do have a fork, I think we should like invite everyone else to join us in that fork, so that we're not maintaining a fork by ourselves, but that we become kind of the new active project maintaining this. It seems that other organizations like Harbor are also dependent on this, so I assume they welcome it. Maybe we can fork it together with them instead of doing it by ourselves. So I wonder what the considerations are, and whether we're in touch, and whether we're giving both Docker and the other people who benefit from that repo the right information.
Yeah, great question. There was a ton of technical discussion around this one. Tim, you were more closely involved. Do you have details on that?
Yeah. So we have been in touch with Docker, but only in the issues. I think some sort of reach out through our alliances team and having that conversation could be really helpful. I could reach out to Brandon and see if we can coordinate that. We have been in touch with Harbor a bit, and I think they would be interested in supporting the fork because they've encountered these very same problems. They've been trying to push changes to improve how garbage collection is done. So I think there is definitely an opportunity to work together there. And we recently have just started working through what it means to maintain our own fork. So Stan just pushed the first changes to improve error handling. Beyond that, now we're starting to say, what does it mean to maintain our own fork? How do we handle upstream patches? Like, how does all of that work? So I think we are ready to go into a conversation with both Docker and Harbor, now that we're armed with this information of what it means to maintain our own fork. So I can help coordinate that.
Yeah,
Tim, I got it.
Cool. Are there any other people that might be interested apart from Harbor?
Some of our customers have expressed interest in helping, specifically with some of the problems around garbage collection and untagging. They said we would love to partner on a fork. So I think there's an opportunity there that I've been kind of pushing back until we made some of these preliminary decisions that I think we could follow up on with them
Cool.
now.
And it's important to make sure the kind of the location of the fork and the rights we can grant are conducive to working with. Like if we're going to work with the people of Harbor, it should probably not be under the GitLab org namespace or considerations like that. So let's make sure that we've done our homework. Also, let's make sure that if we do fork it, we do it in a kind of a low profile way. We shouldn't hide anything, but Docker has been amazing for like contributing all of this, and then walking around and like putting blog posts out, oh, we're forking this and stuff like that is not being a good citizen. So I think we want to make sure that we address our problem, that we work with Harbor, but there's no need to kind of make a throw a stint about it. This is not one of those forks. We just want to get our problem solved.
Those are great points. Thanks, Sid.
Yeah, and that's definitely the case. We're not opposed to Docker or anything like that. There are just specific issues that we need help with. And so that's the real root cause as to why we're exploring this. Brandon, looks like you're next.
I was just adding comment. So this was just taking notes that are in the chat and adding it into the thing. So it's not a comment. It was just taking data and making sure it's in the doc.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Kenny.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I saw your highlights for the next coming releases, but I was wondering, are there specific, maybe like overarching pain points, or maybe the better way to phrase that is like workflows for users of our CI/CD tooling that you're excited about improving?
Yeah, and it's sort of the two that I touched on in relation to the to where we want to invest next year and potentially pull those in early. Is mobile use cases is a really, really important one. There's a whole segment of customers that we're not serving very well. Windows and Mac runners, of course, but that's already in the works. And then onboarding is really the one that I've become more and more passionate about. Improving just getting up to speed. The day-to-day basic workflows in GitLab is super, super important. And there's a lot that we can do there. There's a great issue that came in yesterday about building the CI lint into the web IDE, more syntax highlighting, All of these things will help people get started. Autocomplete is another great example of that. These that are great ways to help people understand the power of GitLab. We've built a lot of great features that are keywords in the CI YAML, but you sort of have to read the documentation to find them. It's not necessarily automatic in a lot of ways to know how to get them set up. We have auto DevOps, which can do things to a certain extent, but we want to continue to expand that and do more auto detection of things, more discoverability of features, and that's why I want to build a whole team that's focused on doing that. And I think that's going to make a huge difference and really make us, best in the market in a lot of ways in terms of getting things done.
Cool, thanks. I had the next one, which was, I know we recently added directed acyclic graphs, which enable you to do different dependencies between jobs across stages. I'm wondering if have we seen any results from that of customers using it and seeing improved pipeline performance?
Yeah, definitely. I don't have measurements on like percentage improvement, but I've seen a ton of activity in two different ways. One is on the issues for follow-up improvements. One of the great signs that you've released a good feature that people are really engaging with is you start getting a lot of bugs and you start getting a lot of feature requests around it. That's been the case with the DAG. They're getting a lot of upvotes quickly. We've got strong signals that we want to continue investing in this and making the feature better and better. And then the other place that I'm seeing it is on Twitter. People are sharing that, like, wow, I just used the needs keyword and parallel keyword and was able to improve my pipelines. And I always find and retweet those and really enjoy seeing those. So definitely seeing that this was a really good investment. And once we're able to do that research to figure out how to unify the DAG and the current stage-based model, I think we're going to have a really unique solution on the market because nobody else has this hybrid view that we have, where you can either use the stage-based model independently, you can use the DAG independently, or you can use both at once and kind of stage things out. But within different stages, you can have DAG behaviors, and you can have a DAG running in parallel with a stage-based build. It's a really unique and powerful solution. The biggest challenge that we've had is figuring out how to appropriately visualize it.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Anyone enjoyed or disliked a CI/CD feature recently that you'd like to mention? Well, if there's no more questions, then I think that's it for today. Thanks everybody for attending. Always nice to have one of these chats. If any more questions come up or if you want to contribute on any of the things that we talked about, just feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks.
Thanks.